This is Lifted, a podcast by women for women. I created this podcast in order to showcase the strength women bring to the table on a day-to-day basis. Women in business, women in employed roles, women in athletic and sports capacities, women in motherhood and parenting, and even women as partners in relationships. It is clear to see that when women come together to support each other, they create such a strong force and help each other live their best lives and show up as their highest selves in this roller coaster called life. I also showcase and highlight the strength in women undertaking bodybuilding as a sport, the mental resilience and discipline required to get oneself through competition prep, and also what it takes to take your body through such an extreme sport by sharing experiences of different athletes in the sport. Having this platform to talk about all these things is important to me because based on personal experience, it was the key to unlocking my true potential, and by passing this on, it might inspire you to do the same in a different or similar capacity. This is Lifted, a podcast to lift you up, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally too, by talking about different ways of dealing with daily challenges we all face. I am your host, Carol West, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the sisterhood. Let's get that on. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another guest episode on Lifted. It is with great pleasure that I would like to introduce to you my longtime friend, Beth Mudaki. Beth and I go way back, where we attended the same high school in my home country, Kenya. That's in East Africa, for those who don't know. And therefore, we have both seen each other's very non-glamorous sides. Because let me tell you, our high school experience is like no other my listeners over here in the UK have ever experienced. So it's going to be a really interesting episode, this one, because we're going to dive straight into our upbringing and how life was for us back home, compare different things between the cultures, and just really get into the depths of how life was growing up back home. So I'm super excited to have Beth here with me today because there's just so much to talk about, so much to explore. I don't even know where to start. I would normally have a script where I plan everything beforehand and I pick on points as I go. But with Beth, I feel it's going to be a freestyle sort of thing. So let's see where our storytelling will get us. So I will give her a chance now to firstly introduce herself to us, tell us what she's all about, and then we can take it from there. Beth, welcome to Lifted.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. I'm very excited to reflect back on where we've been, and where we are at, and the things, little lessons and little tells we've picked up over time.
Yeah.
So my name is Beth Mudaki, and as Carol said, we are long-term friends. We've known each other since high school, which is it's
Yes.
a way back. And I'm a teacher. That's my trade. I teach internationally, so I've worked in a few countries. I'm a mom, a wife, a daughter, Nancy. I try to be everybody's like a sister skipper. And at the moment stationed in New York, working here as a teacher as well. So that's a little bit about me.
Good. Fantastic. So now we've done the introductions and we know who Beth is or what she's about, or just a little bit of her. I don't really know where to start because there's just so much. I feel like, I'm really, really excited for this. I feel it's best to start right at the very beginning, Beth. Talk to me about how your life has evolved from high school days to where you currently are. What led you to the path that you're on now? Just talk us through that a little bit.
I'm a storyteller, so I always go the long way, and then I end up talking
gosh,
days. So I'm gonna keep my editing. I'm
Go with
gonna
it.
try to edit as we go
I'm
along.
I'm here for all of it, Beth. Go with it.
I'm gonna step a little back before high school, because I feel like, to me, high school was a really significant experience, but it was very different from where I came from, because I'm a village girl. I was raised on a small farm. My mom is I am sorry about that.
That's okay.
So I was raised on a small farm. My mom was a school teacher. My dad was a clinical officer, so a doctor of sorts. And so, barefooted little village girl. That's
Yeah.
how I went to primary school. So coming to high school, which was provincial school, had people from all over the country. We had city folk and people
Yeah.
from some fancy
Everywhere.
families, and
Yes.
and so I think high school for me was a moment to really meet myself, but also know how I can what my role is in a bigger picture. So you're
Mm.
here with all these girls. We are all trying to get a decent education. We are living under very strict
Yes.
conditions, and so it really does show you who people are. It
Yeah.
helps you know how to navigate people, how to socialize, how to survive.
Mm.
And so for me, high school, I think my high school friendships have endured. They've been some of my strongest friendships. And even when I don't talk to people for years and years, I feel like you see me, I see
Yeah.
you. Like
Yeah.
we really do know each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
because of that, yeah, we kind of just it was a beautiful experience. And
I mean,
so
it's one of those things that it was like something to bond us for life, really, because if I try to explain the life back then to people here, they're like, oh my God, and how are you even still alive? Do you know what I
I
mean?
know, I know.
But it was one of those things that I think it shaped us and made us what we are today, really. And the friendships we made along then, we kind of had to stand by each other, really, to,
Yeah,
to survive the whole
yeah.
ordeal or experience. And I can only compare it to like military training. Would you
Oh
agree?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, because it was very strict. It was the most severe of punishments that you could think of, and it was a hard life. It wasn't easy, but
Yeah.
equally so, I feel like it shaped us to be very resilient and very strong-minded. And
And I think too, because it was just like an expectation, you didn't look at it as hardship.
yeah,
We didn't look at it and think, oh, what a miserable life we're living.
no, because
We
that
just,
was our life.
yes, this is
Yeah,
all we knew and this is what we've been prepared for. You're like, you'll go to high school, the food is not great. You'll have to wake up early, you'll have to do this. And so you kind of sort of mentally know what to expect. And so you have an inbuilt resilience
yeah,
for
yeah,
every experience. And I remember how much fun we would have despite or in spite of the circumstance, we'd
yes,
still find
absolutely.
good moments to
Yeah,
laugh
yeah,
about, to
yeah,
enjoy, to bond over.
yeah,
And I think from that experience, I always say I am the party. Like when I arrive, then life begins.
yeah,
I
yeah,
that is my approach. I'm like, I'm not waiting for anybody to give me entertainment or to entertain me. I am the entertainment because I kind of sort of
yeah,
can make fun out of every situation and just enjoy it. So
yeah,
high school,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, for me, it was a bit different because I was a city girl. So I was used to like all the good stuff. And then that was taken away. And I came into a life where I literally had to survive, like literally just make it from day to day.
Yeah.
And I must say, like, that first year was absolutely awful. It was hard for me. It
Horrendous.
really
It
was.
is.
It was hard.
Yeah.
That first term, shall I say, just the first term of the year, I
Yeah.
then, because nothing prepared me for it. I know people told me what it was going to be like, but if you've never experienced anything like it,
Yeah.
there is nothing to prepare you for it, you know. And I struggled. I struggled. I think the first two terms was very hard for me. And then when I settled in and I figured out, like, right, we're doing this. This is where I am now. This is my
Yeah.
life. I
I
might just
might,
as well
yeah, get
crack
with
on
the
with it.
program.
And yeah, just get used to it because it's never going to get any better. And that is where the fun bit began after that. But the initial stages of it was really, really hard for me. I really struggled. And then there's that the issue of how we come into school at the beginning of the term. We're all nice and plump and looking shiny,
Oh
and
yeah.
skin is gorgeous and glowing. And
Uh-huh.
then towards the middle bit of the term, everybody starts shrinking right before your eyes, and you're thinking like, what is going on?
Uh,
By the time
you
you get to the
yeah,
end of term, like there's literally
a
about,
diet program. It's
yeah,
imposed on you. You don't have to, you have to like it, you just gotta do it. And
yeah,
it was, and it teaches you to be resourceful. It teaches you to survive and for like you are a city girl. So I was the girl looking at you and thinking, oh my
yeah,
God,
yeah,
here we go, because I think village life is just hard.
It is hard. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're used to doing things the hard way. You're used to doing manual labor and to, really putting your back
Working
into
hard.
things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing comes to you. You can't just, you don't cross the road to go get a loaf of bread to,
No,
you
I
go to the
know.
farm and uproot a sweet potato. That's the difference.
I
So
know.
it just, I feel like it was an adjustment for all of us because you're away from home, you're with
Mm.
all these girls and you're gauging, you're like, where do I fit in?
Yes.
Can I be
Yes.
friends with? Who can I look out for? Who can I, and things like that. So I think that that was quite the experience. But also, um, there was something about the differences in personalities and backgrounds
Mm. Mm.
that equipped us for life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because now you are in the real world and the people who are fancier than you, the people who have more than you, and the people who
Absolutely.
have it worse than you, and you
Mm.
find your place. I always find my place. I don't know about you, but I always
Yeah.
find.
I was going to ask you that. How did you find making friends when you came into that sort of environment where it's all different sorts of people?
Yeah.
Did you take to making friendships quite easily, or how was it like for you?
So actually after high school, I went to college, which is a lot more stricter than high school, if you can believe it.
Oh my
And
God, no
when you
way!
go to, yeah, when you go to teachers college, it's now like proper military camp because you wake up
Wow,
at 3:30 a.m. to do drills for 2 hours.
lovely.
It's proper on, you know, and you're stuck with a bad diet and you're
Yep,
stuck
that's
with,
still the
and
same.
is
That didn't change.
it didn't change, and it's worse because it's a bunch of adults.
Oh
So
God,
in high
yeah,
school, your kids, you kind of have you're still being molded or you're still forming. But
yeah,
then in teachers' college is like a bunch of adults. I was actually probably one of the youngest ones because I was 17, going 18 when I joined.
right.
And then there were 20-some-year-olds who were also here. And so you feel like, oh my God. But the thing that I think I took with me is just I'm a people person. I don't
Mm,
know if this is a nature thing or this is like something that we really picked up from high school.
yeah,
But I can read people really well.
mm,
I can tell that your intentions maybe are not the purest.
yeah.
Your vibe and my vibe are not
You
really
don't
going
go in. Yeah.
together real quick. So that has given me a certain survival. I can gravitate towards certain environments that have helped me flourish
Okay.
and have helped me stay away from things that haven't necessarily fed me or my spirit or
Mm-mm.
what I feel like. So the thing from that experience, 4 years of, bunch like hundreds of other girls, you don't know each other, you have to live together and share things and make it work, has helped me because I know now when I go into a new school in a new country, I don't know the
Mm.
laws,
Yeah.
I don't know what the policies of the school. I'm learning. There's a new kids, new attitudes, new environments, different societal expectations, different cultures. I quickly can tell. I quickly can tell
Yeah.
I'm not welcome here.
Yeah.
Or even when like with being Black and navigating a world that is not accustomed to Black people,
Yeah.
kind of knowing themselves and demanding what they think they deserve
Mm.
of the situation. Sometimes you can see the naivety in people. Sometimes people treat you poorly because they never had a chance to really experience you.
No, I
So
know.
like knowing how to know that this person is reacting from a history book or a social media post or the stereotype,
Yeah.
but they really have good bones. Like I could like I if I told them that this wasn't true, I could still be friends.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
when you meet somebody that straight on, like I'm never gonna change this person's opinion. They probably think very little of me. And so I'm gonna stay away from them, or I'm gonna
Mm.
just put up a little protective
Barrier.
barrier. It helps me pick that up, and it's
Yeah. Yeah.
helped me form more lifelong relationships and friendships.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That just brings me nicely to this next point I was gonna bring in, and that's to do with cultural differences. Now, obviously, both of us are away from our homeland, and it's very different living here compared to what life is like at home. There's a lot of cultural differences, and I feel this is the right point to cover this topic. for you, what are some of the major differences you've observed between our culture and the Western world? And also, if you want to compare it, you did live in India for a bit, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, so if you can just make those comparisons for us, it would be great because I'm so interested in seeing what the differences are with the Western world, our world, and even in India, even though it's not Western, but it's still away
Yeah,
from home.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that that's East Asia, the West, and like where we come from. The biggest difference, I think, it's we are all about people.
yes,
People come first.
yeah,
I know so many people that will bend the rules to accommodate people. Like
mm,
the human factor supersedes everything else. But
mm.
I think that in the West, policy, the rules, the laws, they supersede everything
Everything
else.
else, yeah,
Sometimes at the expense of the human factor,
right.
which every time it happens, it shocks me. Every time it shocks me. Like I have seen people lose their kids to the system because they did one thing or they said one thing or they
Yeah,
were like, and in my head, I'm like, wow,
yeah,
you just
yeah.
did do that. You took her kids, you took
You
his,
took a, yeah,
it just, yeah, it doesn't, I cannot calibrate that. I cannot understand that because we come from a society that will overlook so much to take
mm,
care of the human factor, just to be, you're human, you made a mistake, this is horrible, we'll
yeah,
chastise you. Maybe there's some consequence, but for the most part, unless you're doing something that is horribly hurting somebody
yeah,
else,
yeah,
we will very quickly overlook
yeah,
little things. We will
yeah.
bend the rules, we will break some rules.
We'll break some rules. I know what you
Yeah.
mean. Yes, yes.
So
Just
I think
the
to
people come
me,
first. Yeah.
yeah, people come first, and with all the frailties of being human, like we are
Mm,
very accommodating of things that are not necessarily like we understand. Like as a human, I understand, but in the West, I find that the laws are so stiff, so
yeah.
rigid. Like you have to fall within these restrictions. It doesn't matter what part of your human frailties caused you to behave
To
this
do
way.
that.
That
Yeah.
excuse is very different. And I also think that it's cold. It's not just, like by temperature cold, but just people are so cautious,
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
so protective of whatever they consider to be their space.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't do that. Like we are in your business, all up in your business.
Absolutely.
On a good
100%.
day, on a bad day.
All over you.
We are in
Yeah.
your business is
Yeah.
literally our business. Like there's
Yeah.
no such thing as my privacy and my
No.
this. Growing up in a village and even in the city back then when you were
Yeah.
growing, because I'd pop to I'd come visit cousins, whatever in Nairobi. And so I kind of sort of know that neighborhoods were neighborhoods. Your
Yeah.
parents had
Yeah.
left you at the house after lunch
Yeah.
and you'd
You
run
you're
around,
out in the
play with
morning,
your
you're back at
friends.
lunchtime, and then
Yeah,
you have to
nobody
be out
really
again.
worried where you
Yeah.
are. Or
Yeah.
sometimes you'd eat at whatever
At
house
the
you are at.
neighbors. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was just, it was okay, because next time your neighbor's going to be eating at yours.
Yes.
And that was just so, but here I find that sometimes even when my kids go out to ride their bikes, I'm a little worried that don't stay off people's lawns, stay off
Yes.
this. And respect for other people's space is something that I'm so afraid of because I don't know where the boundaries are because people
Mm.
are so uh, about
Yes.
their space. They're just
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
very into this is my space. And so it's just a sense of that warmth you find at home is
Mm,
not
mm.
the same as you find here. And then I think the third thing is the way we express our emotions is so different. I laugh so loud, and
Yes.
sometimes
Same.
sometimes I'm like, this whole idea of just gently just laughing and,
Yeah.
in a pretty way, and you don't want to offend the next
So
person on that
we don't do
table.
that.
We don't do that. We laugh loud. We eat loud. Like if you
Yeah,
go
we
to the
speak
theater,
loud.
people are enjoy. Yeah, we just
Yeah.
kind of we allow you to just be you, and sometimes it's not pretty, but I find that to be very warm. To be
It is
very
very warm.
It
Yeah.
is very warm. And so when you are going through a good time and when you're going through a sad time, you know how we are at funerals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think in itself that's therapy. You are
Absolutely.
allowed to feel to the extent to go through whatever emotion it is so that when you come out at the other end, you really don't need, you have all the closure, you've
Yeah.
addressed all. And so that is something else that I find and a little different. Now, if you compare it with Southeast Asia, or just because I lived in India, but I traveled a lot around
Okay.
Asia, and Asians are a lot like Africans in terms of community and looking out for
Yeah.
each other. The only difference is, if I compare, like, the West is a little cold, but I feel like once you crack that wall, there's a certain sense of, oh, okay, we know who you are, we accept you, you're now here, you're
Yeah.
friends, you're this,
Yeah.
and you're in. In Asia, you never get in.
Really?
In Asia, you never get in
Oh
because
gosh.
Asians are so conditioned to being nice.
Yeah.
They will smile the biggest, they will be like really open to you, but
Yeah.
you never really get in.
That is so interesting. I would have never known that. Wow,
You never really
really?
get in. And especially like more developed, like India, I have friends that I consider to be in with, like their family, I'm very friendly with. I've spent time with their families. They are my people, I
Yeah.
consider them part of my tribe.
Yeah.
So I found that in India, it's just maybe I met a certain set of people that were very open-minded. But when you go to other countries around Asia, a good example would be Japan. You
Yeah.
just never get in.
You never get
They'll
in.
be nice. Even in some Indian, a lot of places in India, they'll be nice.
Mm.
They'll smile at you. They will be helpful to you. They will let you into some spaces,
Mm.
but there will always be a curtain, a very big, where you can't really see through.
Yeah.
Something is going on, you just don't know what it
Don't know
is.
what it is.
And
Yeah.
you can catch whiffs of it, but that's it. So
Wow.
that is the other thing. Like, you can spend years and years and years and years in Asia, and you can
Mm.
always feel accommodated, but you're never going to feel like you're part of.
Parts of them. Yeah.
Yeah, their
Yeah.
culture is
Get that.
very exclusive. It's
Wow.
very, yeah.
That is so interesting. Like, I would have never known that because,
Yeah.
but I do get that. I do understand where you're coming from with that because my first year in high school, I was in a city school, so Parklands.
Yeah.
And it was a school where there was a lot of Indians because of where it was based. So, and you could always tell they don't actually mix with, well, they do, but they don't. So
Yeah.
they will do to some level. And as you say, they're very nice to you. There's nothing wrong with the way they are with you, but you
Yeah.
can just tell they kind of a bit like, there's a distance there that you can't actually be part and parcel of them,
Yeah.
and they flock together more than interact with or let everybody else in, and it's just them. So I do get that, but I would have never thought like it's like that
No,
also in the
you
country.
can't
Wow,
crack it. You cannot. And
interesting.
and I have like 5 solid relationships with people in India that
Yeah,
I feel like I'm in. I feel comfortable. I feel like if I went and I just acted a fool in their family home,
yeah,
they'd still like be like, oh, she crazy, they laugh about it.
yeah,
But for the most part, and then because of how few Black people live within Asia and say India, you are a spectacle.
yeah.
In India, when you live in India and you're Black, you're going to be stared at incessantly. Like, you get stared at. Like,
Oh my
people
God.
look at you, and it's so if you encounter racist situations in India,
Mm.
it's mostly out of ignorance.
Yes,
They have nothing against you, but they don't know you well enough to know they can be cool with you,
with you. Yeah, yeah,
And so,
yeah,
like, we had a really hard time finding a house when we first arrived in Mumbai, which is metropolitan,
yeah.
but they don't have enough experience with Black people
They
from
don't
Africa
trust.
to,
They don't
yeah,
trust
to
you.
trust you. And
Yeah,
because the way India works is reputation supersedes everything.
everything. Yeah,
So you never want a mark on your name associated with somebody else. Like, say you let me live in your house and it turned out that I was turning tricks or doing drugs, or
yeah,
that is going to be stuck to the landlord's name
yes,
for,
for a
they're
long
never going to
time.
get another tenant living here.
Yeah,
So it was just out of, I think, ignorance and naivety, or not being fully informed on who Black people are or Africans are. And so it was really different, because you could tell you're not welcome some places because you're Black.
Yeah.
But the blackness was just because there's no real education on
Yeah, it's
black in
ignorance. Yeah.
India. Yeah, there's a lot of ignorance, there's a lot of misinformation, and then funny incidents like my friends, once they know you and they realize, oh, you're friendly, and I'd actually say there's a lot of reverse racism where I got a lot of favors for being because I was black.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
like I would get a table at a restaurant
Oh, nice.
faster than my Indian friends. So they sometimes would say, could you book us a table at here? Could you, if you went, they'd
Yeah.
probably give us that deal. And it's just, I suppose, part of you are exotic. You're
Yes.
exotic to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are very curious,
Yeah.
So I'd walk to the Mark store and I'd walk away with like a bag full of samples because
Wow.
they're just so extra nice because they're just like, oh wow,
Oh,
wow,
wow. So I
wow.
find that really weird because they do have really dark-skinned people as well in India, don't they?
Yeah.
You do have
Okay.
the dark-skinned ones, don't they?
They do, but see, now that introduces a whole other. So in Kenya, we have tribalism as a problem. In the West, they have, racism as a problem. In a country like India and a lot of Asia, but I would say in India particularly, caste system
Caste
is
systems, yeah.
it yeah, it is a horrible disease that just ails them. It's just, one of those, everybody has something. For them, it's the caste system.
Yeah.
And it's tied in a lot with the color because, like, the Maharaja, the really high castes were very, very fair skinned. They were white looking.
Yeah.
And the lower castes
Or dark ones.
were darker ones. And the thing about the thing about it is, it's almost like racism because it doesn't matter how educated, how rich, how cultured, how helpful you are. You could
Hmm.
be the president, you could be the most powerful guy, but you come from a lower caste and they'd still feel a certain sense of entitlement over you or a certain
Yeah.
resentment. And so that difference, they have very dark-skinned people, but they are Indian. You
Yeah.
have, your hair is a little different
Different.
texture,
Yes, true.
features, you have thicker lips, you have a different shaped nose. So they
Nice.
can
Yeah.
very immediately tell you're not like a darker skinned Indian,
Yeah.
you are. And so to them, I think in a big sense, it's a very exotic thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I get that. Amazing. That's really, you learn something every day. It's so cool. I want to go a bit into a different topic now
Okay.
because I feel the topic on race and that can be quite heavy.
It is
It
something that,
needs talking about, and these things need addressing and being like, we need to shed light on them so that it's just not all hush hush and we can't speak about them. We should be
yeah,
able to speak about them without any fear of judgment or anything like that. And the whole
okay.
point of this podcast is to shed light on all these things. Not just, it is a fitness podcast, but also it does need it's there to, like, as a platform to talk about stuff that people might find uncomfortable, and just
Yeah.
shedding light and educating and making people aware of these things. That's why I thought, when I thought about you, I thought like Beth would be a really good one, because I know we can bounce off each other and like shed a light on so much
Yeah.
of this stuff, which is great. So then I want to come on to motherhood, which is again is a good topic. So how is it for you bringing your children up in this part of the world? How have you found it?
So just to kick it back before I talk about motherhood, the way you said, racism can be a really heavy topic and all of that. But it's something that is only weighing on me living in the US now. It wasn't necessarily like I was Black. I've always been Black. I didn't think I was Black before I
No,
left Africa. It just was never like a huge
just
factor.
you.
And
Yeah.
then in all the other countries that I lived in, including India, it wasn't a thing that it was a thing that would be an inconvenience every now and again. And yes, it's uncomfortable, people staring at you, but it didn't scar me in a way
Right.
that made me, like they don't explicitly talk about it in the same way like say the US does. So when it comes to racism, I feel like sometimes I cannot really I'm not best informed on it either because I'm new
Yep.
to the whole idea of, whatever. And yeah, so I suppose I'm learning what my
Yeah.
fight is in the whole thing and what I'm doing and yeah, it's uncomfortable. But coming to motherhood, um, it's hard.
It's hard.
And culturally, considering we are from a very different culture, and my kids have now lived in, I would say this is their third country to live in.
Mm.
Um, it is something that is challenging in all environments.
Yeah,
It's fulfilling and it's beautiful, but oh God, you need to
it's hard.
have your cup filled. You need to be,
Absolutely.
for you to be able to feed positivity and good vibes and a good nurturing environment in your children. Motherhood is not is it's I think hands down the toughest job anybody can
Yeah.
give
It's not a
give
walk in the park, that's for sure.
it is not, but it's beautiful. I love that I'm a mom. I
Yeah.
have three kids, 6, and 2.
Wow.
And I thoroughly enjoy that. And I'm happy that I think in a big sense, and this comes from living in India for such an extended period of time, is they're very spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, you realize how little time you have here, and you realize to just be very present. You learn presence. And I think with children, being present is a big thing. And they're 6 and it's a lot of work. And I
Yeah.
do a lot. And then I have a 2-year-old, a toddler, but I never miss on just every night or every morning or when I'm having a hard time or a good day in thinking, I am so lucky to have these little ones,
Yeah.
and they're going to be old enough to be talking back and having big opinions and living their life very soon. I
Yeah.
better enjoy this innocent stage and
Absolutely.
spend time with it
Mm.
before they no longer want me to do their hair or touch them or choose what they wear or what they eat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm being very aware of, people say that all the time. They grow up so fast. They grow up so fast. And so
Yeah.
I'm trying to enjoy that before they grow up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like it's yeah, it's cliche and you hear it all the time, but it is like I look at my daughter and she's like all the way up here now. Just the other day she could fit on my arm. And I'm
Yeah.
like, when did this happen? And now they are their own people. They're little human beings, basically, that you brought to the
Yeah.
world. But as you
Mhm.
say, it is very important to have that relationship with them and for you to be present with them and to enjoy the moment. And
Yeah.
actually, it's quite interesting because I've had a podcast out this last Tuesday about motherhood, and I was actually explaining my journey to motherhood and how it came about and all the birth and all that. And at the end, I remember saying, like, after all it's said and done, I feel very blessed to be in this position to say that I'm a mom of 2 kids, and I feel like I've done a good job. They're not adults yet, but up to what I've done, up to where they are now,
Yeah.
it's absolutely amazing to like look back and see like I did all that, and they're actually decent human beings,
Oh,
and it's an absolute blessing. So I completely get what you mean about enjoying the
yeah.
whole process, because again,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I'm happy to hear you're giving yourself flowers, because oftentimes you really question yourself as a mom.
yeah, yeah.
You really question your methods and, and also just the balance of where we come from and where we are at,
Hmm.
and how differently those two societies or those two cultures raise kids,
Yeah,
and knowing the balance and knowing what the good is from, that very strict upbringing that we had,
yeah,
at least I had, and then, a little more gentle upbringing that the
yeah,
kids
yeah,
now have, and
yeah,
finding a good medium and knowing, I need to be a little more firm with this,
yes,
or I
yeah,
need to let them have a breather on that. And just I'm really happy to hear that you look at your kids and they're decent human beings, and that is the ultimate goal,
yeah, yeah,
is to
absolutely.
have like good humans.
Yeah,
Like, that is, to me, that is the best thing you can do, is to have kind children and to have children who see each other and children who see others and
yeah,
who are respectful.
absolutely.
Yeah, and so yeah, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, but it's quite interesting you bringing up that bit where you just said about the cultural differences in bringing up children and you wanting to maintain a level of balance between how we were brought up to what they should really be brought up as. There is no right or wrong way. Obviously, you as a parent know sometimes we're all just making this up as we go. Nobody really knows what's right or
Yeah,
what's wrong.
that's true.
And this is the other thing that I mentioned in that podcast is some days you wake up and you just feel like, do you know, I don't actually know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just gonna wing it today. I will just make it up as I go. So it is what it is. As long as we're all alive at the end of the day, that counts. That's
Oh,
fine.
yes.
But again, for me, motherhood has been something that I've had to really learn a lot about myself, because again, when you're going back to our culture and how we were brought up, that's all I knew. And all I knew was shouting and getting the cane out to like reinforce certain things so that the children know that actually mom really means business. And to a point, I was like that. I was like that to a point because that's all I knew. I didn't know anything else, and I cannot teach my children what I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But as I grew with them and I learned, and you could see how everything else around you, how they're taken to how you're being, and you realize that, you know what, actually I shouldn't really carry on this cycle. I should be the one to break this cycle. It doesn't have to be like that. There's a better way of bringing the children up. There's a better way of communicating so that they actually understand that what you're saying, you mean what you say, without actually it going to that level. And for me, it was huge. It was a big learning curve. It was a learning process. But in terms of getting that balance right, I think I got to a point where I actually did get that balance right. And right now, I can say, like, I can be silly with them. I can be, I can be one of them. I literally go into child mode. And then when I snap out of it, they just know that's it. We have to know this is where the line is. And it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of self-reflection and realizing and understanding what it is that you're trying to teach the children and to bring out in them, so that they grow up knowing that there's a better way of resolving things, conflict, for example. There's a better way of communicating, and it doesn't actually have to be so aggressive, because I feel like from the way I was brought up, there was a lot of aggression and there was always a lot of that,
then you don't know whether that was respect or fear that you had.
Yeah, yeah. But but eventually I did get to that point where I thought, like, do you know what, this is actually not right, and it doesn't feel like it's the right way. But again, that it took a lot of self-reflection and working on my inner self and my childhood traumas and all that stuff that you have to work through, and the generational things that you've been brought up with. You have to self-reflect a lot. And you have to have the ability to actually look at how things were done and be better, because you need to be better for the coming generation. You need to not always go along with everything that was put on you, because not all of it was good, let's be honest. And as much as it was good in terms of instilling discipline to the children, so in some sort of way, I feel like it was a bit excessive to the point where you're scared of your parent. And I didn't want my kids to be scared of me. And I got to a point where I felt like there must be a better way of communicating with the children, so that they know that I mean business, but then not unleashing that beast side, if you will, where they, to a point where it becomes too excessive. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, and how you find that sort of thing. How do you actually get that balance for you?
I don't have the balance. I don't have the balance yet. I'm still
Right.
I'm just
You're getting
listen.
it out.
I've only been in this for 6 years. I have a lot to learn still. So I'm still finding days I'm disappointed in myself as a parent and my parenting skills, and days that I'm really proud of myself for having done things a particular way that seemed to work. But so first, this is something I learned from my husband. He doesn't believe in experts, especially when it comes to the human condition. He thinks, and there've been moments where he said, "Oh, listen to this guy," and "Oh, listen to this," and he says, "Oh, they make a point." But I think what I ended up, like, my summary from all of his reactions was that nobody knows. Nobody knows,
Nobody
because even
knows.
the most studied kids or parents have had so many different variations. There's variables that you cannot say my kids have had the very same, even in one. Somebody said to me, no two children have the same parents. and that really like sat with me. They said, I am the fifth of my siblings. My eldest brother is, I would say, about 15 years older than me. And so when he was born, my parents were at a particular social economic
Yeah.
stage. My parents had certain, beliefs,
Yeah,
ideologies, own dreams,
absolutely.
whatever. And so by the time they were raising him and then having me 15 years later, my
Yeah.
parents were in a different
Different.
position. They
Mm.
were still like, when your parents are still growing, they're still forming, they're still learning. And so
Learning.
you're growing together. But when you're a child, you think they know what they're doing. And so I think, the most mature of my parents when I was born. I
Yeah.
was lucky. I was like, they
Yeah.
knew what they're doing. They had 4 experiments before me. They
Yeah.
knew what worked with it. So I had it a little easier. And so I tell this to my children all the time. I love all of you, but I don't want you to ever compare yourselves or compare how I love her, how I love him, or how I love you,
Because it's different. Yeah.
because you're different personalities. Some of
Mm.
them just want to cuddle, some of them just want to be left alone when they're upset, some of them. And so if I'm cuddling your sister and then I'm leaving you alone when you're upset, I don't want you to think I don't care. I
Yeah.
want you to know that's what you need. When you're upset, you like being left alone to, kind of stew in your little situation. And then
Yeah.
when you're ready, we will talk, we will hug, we'll do all of that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so, like, listening. So, number one, knowing no one is an expert has really helped me.
Yeah.
I don't ever look at another parent and think, "Oh my God, you have all the, markers. You
Yeah, you
have
got it all
you
sorted
have the
out.
manual. You have the manual to this
Yeah.
job." So that has lessened my complex. Like, I don't think of myself as superior and inferior to anybody else.
Okay.
But also being a school teacher
Yes.
has helped me, because yes, I come from a culture that demanded respect almost to the point of fear
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
out of parents. But because then I started teaching and working, and most of the schools I've worked for are the cream de la cream of society. And
Mm.
even when I worked in Nairobi, it was politicians and top sergeants
Big
and business
names.
and,
Yeah.
yeah, big names. And so you see how these kids are being raised. You're like, they're being coddled. This is not healthy, or they're being this. And then you realize there's such extreme ends of
Yeah.
this thing. And then you go to another community, like I would say Indian parents, they expect academic perfection out of their
Yeah.
kids, even when the families are wealthy,
Yes.
because personal success is a thing of pride, something you're proud of yourself. And so that like kind of stuck with me, like, oh, wealthy people who don't care what their kids do, and then wealthy people who really want their kids to
Yeah,
still
yeah.
succeed and have their own so just when I had kids, I had a bit of experience of the do's and don'ts by
Yeah.
watching other parents trip up on their own,
Yeah.
their own rules or whatever. And so that really helped when I had my own children. But also, I learned that my kids are not here to fulfill my dreams. They're not here to leave things that I didn't do. And yes,
Yes,
that's every parent's desire,
absolutely.
is to live vicariously through their
Yeah,
children.
through the children,
And
but it's not great. No.
unashamedly, this is what I would confidently say more than 80% of parents want to live through their children.
Through the children. Yeah, that's
Give
true.
them give them better opportunities, but also push them to do some of the things that they were too afraid to do themselves, or never
Yes.
had opportunity, or didn't feel like they had the guidance or the assistance that they needed to do those particular things.
Mm.
My daughter was was watching something, and I don't like, she likes watching um people creating things out of Play-Doh.
Yeah.
And I thought, she's very artsy and she loves the arts, but I thought it wasn't helpful to her. And I get
Okay.
annoyed when I see her spending, she'll have like an hour screen
I was,
time,
yeah,
and they will all just be
with
spent
that.
watching this person fiddle and do things. I'm like, oh my God, like, listen to a story, watch something. And then one day she said to me, Mama, we are not the same person. I
Wow.
don't even like the things you watch.
Wow. That's you talk.
And and I thought to myself, I am so sorry. I really truly apologized to her and said, you know what? We are not the same
You're
person. We
not.
don't like the
Mm.
same things. And so just understanding they're not here to fulfill my unrealized dreams, and keeping that in mind. And I think the last thing is one of my most favorite, like, people is this guru. This, he says, children are not to be raised. They're
Hmm.
not cattle. They're to be nurtured.
To be nurtured, yeah.
And you should learn from your kids. You should watch how they navigate life and how they do things. And so, best of that, I listen more and I pay attention to the things that I think that they are trying to say, or they're trying to express, of who they are, or who they at that moment feel like, that is who they are. And also realize I don't have to raise them. I
Hmm.
just need to be here to nurture
To
them.
nurture them, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
kind of, not bend them, just kind of go with the flow, as long
Yeah,
as,
just guide them and
yeah,
just nurture them. Yeah, that is so good to hear because
yeah,
I can't, yeah, I feel like that is such your daughter. She sounds like she's very wise. And I love her
it
already.
has her moments.
Yeah. But that actually just reminded me of something my son said to me not too long ago. And again, he's mature for his age. And there was a day I was stressing about stuff. There was just, one of those days when things are just not going and
Yeah,
you're trying to figure things out and
yeah,
you don't know how it's going to be. So you're not talking to anybody in particular, you're just talking things out. And he looked at me and he just went, Mom, we'll figure it out. And I thought, wow, you know what? I don't even know why I'm stressing when I've got like wisdom right in front of me. Like, yeah, of course we'll figure it out. Why am I stressing? It's
yeah,
not like the end of the world that something's not going right or I can't actually make something work at this particular moment, but I'll figure it out. And I just thought, like, and it's one of those parenting moments where you think, like, do you know, I've done something right.
yeah,
If I can get something from my son like that. And again, as you point out, they teach you and you have to be observant
yeah,
and to listen and to watch them because you learn quite a lot from how they live their lives.
yeah,
And from a child's point of view, it's the innocence that comes with it, and it's so much we can learn from them. And sometimes when you're too much on the other side of raising them and making them be a certain way, you miss that because you will
yeah,
never look back. You'll never let them almost take the lead, if you will, in their own lives because you're constantly trying to raise them and you miss a lot of
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Something else, somebody said to me that I've been just mulling over for the last few weeks. I have a friend of mine and she's in the fitness industry, and she used to be my yoga client back in India, but then she really worked on herself and she got her certification as a nutritionist, and she has her thing. And I was talking to her and she said, what oil do you use to cook? And I said, I use olive oil. It's healthy. It's this, and all these studies. And she said, a little thing that I have learned, I just discovered myself, is I use ghee. I use ghee and I use butter. And
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people will frown upon that because they're considered to be unhealthy, a lot of calorie count there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, but people don't put into consideration my genome. My genome is not familiar with olive oil. Olive oil is a European construct. It's, an Italian eating olive oil, their body will not interact with with the oil the same way my body will,
Yeah.
because I come from a genetic history of people who've used butter and ghee. My genome knows how to process that better than the whatever. So she said it. I'm not saying anybody should do that. I'm just saying that I feel like where you come from and your genetic bank sometimes will put you in situations that you cannot consciously or logically explain. And so even when you're raising kids, and even when I'm raising my kids in an environment that is outside of their genetic pool of where they come
Yeah.
from, some characters, like how sometimes you see your kid do something, you're like, oh my God, that is so
That's
my
it.
dad. That
Yeah.
is my dad, or that is my mom, or that is my grandparent, or that's that's your dad's dad. Like, there are so many
Yeah.
things you see in kids that are an anomaly or something that you would fight against, but
Yes.
you accept because you understand the genetic power of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is something that is probably, genetically given to them. And so sometimes when you're raising children in a culture that is not of where, they
Where
come
you
from,
come from, yeah.
or where we come from, it is something that I'm learning to put into consideration, that
Mm.
this is an English interpretation, or this is an English reaction, this is a naturally American reaction, there's a naturally Indian reaction, and my child might not necessarily feel that way because they may not consciously know that they're not of here,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I do, and I can see why they're hesitant to participate in this or to enjoy that or to want to do that. And so, yeah, like I see my friends' kids just naturally eat salads.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
my children.
okay.
I always say, that's the genome right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine won't eat that.
I have had to teach my children. My son is 2, and we fight over him eating a cucumber or a carrot, which is perfectly nice. Like, I enjoy a carrot. Everybody should, but he's still very suspicious. Like, why are you making me eat a carrot? And so I sometimes just laugh. I'm like, I don't know where the genetic part comes in, but my kids, my friends who are, from here have no problem. Like, their kids will just eat a bunch of raw vegetables very comfortably. I've had to train mine and be like, no, we are having a salad with every meal. You know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Brilliant. Can you hear me? I think I got lost for a minute
No,
there.
I can hear you. I
Oh,
can hear
cool,
you.
cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right. Well, that has been quite eye-opening or ear-opening even. But I need us to go into another topic at this
Right.
point. I'll try not to keep you too long because you've got your babies to go back to. But this is a fitness podcast, yes,
Yeah.
majorly, and we very nearly got you signed up to our Elevate program
Oh,
a
good to
bit,
know.
just very
Good to know.
nearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost got you there. But life got in the way for you,
Yeah.
understandably. But what I'd like you to talk to us about, still tying it in with motherhood, is how motherhood has affected you in terms of what you can and can't do, and your body changes, and all that comes with pregnancy. How did you find that side of things? And currently, how are you managing to maintain some sort of fitness going into your life at the moment?
So I would say growing up, I've always been a bigger chick.
Yeah,
I'm a big boned woman,
yeah,
and where we come from, it's never been a problem.
no,
You know,
absolutely. I know
that
that.
is
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
standard of beauty. Fortunately, that has been used to discredit, your beauty or somebody. We've been very lucky that we come from a place where your bone structure or your shape structure, it hasn't been a problem for years and
no,
years. Now,
yeah,
now I see like the young ones trying to get into particular shapes, but it wasn't a problem necessarily when we
for
were
you.
growing
Yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah.
And so I was generally a very sporty person. I, did a lot of things. I powerlifted, I played basketball at college. I did a lot of things that just kept me very fit and active.
Mm, mm.
But um there was always a point that I couldn't ever reach in terms of fitness. And I didn't realize how big an impact my chest area had on me. And for some health reasons, I ended up having a surgical procedure, and that lessened the weight on my chest.
Yeah,
And that's when my fitness really kicked in, because then I realized, oh my God, my body just moves different. I no longer have this as an extra weight. I no longer have this, as a barrier. So I got really fit, and then
yeah,
I had the twins, and I had the
yes,
twins pick of my fitness. I was in a place of, I was very happy with me. I was very, very. I really enjoyed my movement and my levels of fitness, and life just came very easily in terms of, whatever you can do with your body.
mm.
And then I had the twins, and I, at that time, was in the process of getting my yoga certification as an instructor.
Okay.
So I gotten the local one, and then I had the girls, and I took 2 years off from working as a teacher to be a mom. But
Mm.
then I had time because I was living with somebody else. I had help with the kids. My husband was there. My niece was there. And so I still could practice and have my yoga practice. So when the twins were about six months,
Mm.
I started slowly getting back into my yoga, and I shadowed another yoga instructor. She'd been in the trade for a really long time, but
Yeah.
I realized that my body did snap almost back into what it was before. I had a ton of stretch marks, a ton of, unsightly. What I felt at that moment was, I don't want to see this. I want to get rid of that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
buy cream, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do
Yeah.
that, all of those things. And so getting back into good health, I think it's two parts. It's a
Mm.
physical thing, but it's also a mental thing. If you're not
Absolutely.
mentally well, and you're not mentally aware of what your body is going to become, and to make peace with that, it becomes a problem. So you have to push so that you get to, like, to the best of your ability, but do
Yeah.
understand things are going to stay the way they are, because
Yeah.
that's just how nature works.
Yeah.
You're aging, you had kids, your body is never going to snap back into what it originally was. And so when I started my international yoga training and got my certification and started my practice, what it did is it forced me into, number one, you have to do your own flow to practice for your clients.
Yeah.
And then I had my clients, and I had this big class in the evenings with women of all shapes and sizes, which really did encourage me. And I didn't have to fight with the whole demon of, I have to be
Yeah.
this size, or because I'm looking at all these women just enjoying
Then
themselves and
else,
getting
yeah.
fit. And yeah, but also I was working out 2, 3 times a day, because I had to do my morning classes and my evening classes. And in
Yeah.
between, I was doing my floor to just be ready for my classes.
Yeah.
So I was very active. And so my kids, when I had my twins, they really never got in the way of me um, practicing, or me getting fit. And then we moved cities. But the thing is, we were in India, and getting help is not hard. There's
Hmm.
human resource is Indian superpower. Like, they have human resource. You're
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
gonna, it's affordable, it's easy to get. So I had somebody come in. And so it allowed me, I still could go to the gym for an hour. I could still have my 2 sessions a day of yoga. And so my body really was doing great. And then COVID happened.
Then COVID happened. Oh God. Yeah.
Lost all my clients, because obviously, of course, you're not going to be
Yeah.
in contact with other people. The gym closed down. And then at that point, I also decided I wanted to learn how to bake bread. I don't know why,
Lovely.
but it was just
Perfect
a thing.
timing.
I was like, we locked in. I ordered myself a little oven thing. I
Wow.
started baking bread.
Yeah.
And then I got pregnant with my son. And by the time we were coming out, because India really did lock down,
Hmm.
by the time I think we were coming out of that, I was pregnant. I was 22 kilos heavier. My self-esteem was really just shredded to bits. I did not feel good about who I was or how I was presenting. And coming from, a lot of people think, and when I think I present as a strong woman,
You do.
I present as a really principled person. I hustle hard, I live hard. I'm a go-getter.
You're a big personality, aren't you? Yeah.
I'm a big personality. And so people constantly expect strength of me.
Yes.
And so you have this facade of strength, but crumbling inside. I'm out of shape. There's really nothing I'm feeling good about myself. I didn't even enjoy my son's pregnancy, because I was just, I would say, really unhappy. And then I'm locked, I'm away from family,
Mm.
and my husband doesn't really know how to handle that, because, he doesn't have the skill set to deal with somebody going through all these
No.
emotions and all these
Mm.
changes. And then I went back home. I went to Kenya for to have my baby, because I wanted to be surrounded by family. And
Yep.
luckily the borders had opened. We got a
Oh,
flight to,
good.
and so I had a lot of family surrounding me.
Mm.
And just like 3 days ago, I was talking to my niece, and I was laughing at my arms. I said, nobody told me, like, you didn't tell me, like, you just let
Oh
me walk
God.
out of the house. And she was laughing. She said, but you felt fly. And I did, like, this particular dress. It's a yellow dress. It's flowy. I remember I did a
Yeah.
little video in it. My arm, Carol, was, I'm telling you, like, my arm was the size of a thigh. It was, oh man, like,
Goodness.
I have nothing against big arms. Like, if
No, they're
me,
fine, but not on you.
I'd never imagined I would have an arm that size.
They're
And I
big.
didn't
Yeah.
even realize that I had it.
Mm.
I didn't even see me. At that point,
Yeah.
I was so like, I was just so insecure. And so I didn't even think that you need to get up, you need to do something. And so
Yeah.
having had a baby and put on so much weight, when I had him, I was 117 kilos.
Wow.
And when I had him, I was still 111 kilos. And I don't weigh myself. I weighed myself at that time because the hospital weighs you.
Yeah, by
Uh,
force.
but I'm never the person to weigh
To weigh
myself. That's
yourself.
not how
No,
I judge my size or whatever.
no.
And so it was honestly that year, I wasn't the best mom I could have been because I was just wallowing in despair and borderline depression. And I didn't realize how my physical, not being in the optimum physical space was really affecting my emotional and my mental. It was really
Mm.
literally weighing me
Weighing you
down.
down. Yeah. Yeah.
And then luckily it was around family. So that part wasn't a problem. And then just before we left Kenya, when we moved here, my niece said, "Oh, for my birthday, can I get a gym membership?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So I got her one, and she said, "I have to go to the gym at 5 in the morning." I was like, "That's early. You gotta
Yeah.
walk over yourself." It was a walking distance, but I was like, "You know what? I'll come." And so I paid for the both of us. And little by little, I started working out and realizing I can barely carry my own weight. I
Mm.
can barely breathe up the stairs to the gym. I can barely go through a little session that I would otherwise, would
Mashed
have
it.
been a walk in the
Yeah.
park. And that's when the realization that I need to really work on my weight, and not because I wanted to look a particular way, but just because I realized I was sick and I was just catching things. And just my doctor said, "Beth, your cholesterol, you need to keep an eye on that. Your
Mm.
weight, man." And it's not because I want to pressure you to go back into a particular shape or size, but it's just not looking healthy right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a very emotional thing. And over time, I had to clear my emotional headspace,
Yeah.
then work on my mental acceptance that my body is never going to be that. I'm going to still be left with souvenirs of making three human
Yeah,
beings.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
need to make peace with that. But then when I reached out to you, it's because number one, you are killing it. Oh my
Oh
God.
God.
Oh my God. I was so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
You didn't see, like, if you ask my husband, he'll tell you that I freaked out for you. I was like,
Wow.
this chick, she went on and she broke
Oh
she was
God.
like, let me show you.
Let me show you how to do this. I'm
Let me
gonna
show you how you shred. Like, this is not in between. This was like you going 1000% for you.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were so proud of yourself. And I was so proud of you. And I was like, teach me your trick,
Yeah,
sensei.
yeah. Yeah,
And I realized that I needed somebody to hold my hand, because
absolutely.
I'd never, my body's changed. I'm turning 40 next year.
Mm.
I have had 3 children. My metabolism doesn't work the same. My knees don't do powerlifting the way they used
No.
to. I never learned, and from our culture, eating is not something that somebody moderates or
Oh
teaches
God,
you.
no. We don't talk about moderating eating or
Yeah.
dieting or
And
anything
so
like
it
that.
never has been a thing my body needed to learn. But then
Mm.
I think just realizing to myself, I need somebody to teach me. And I need somebody who knows what they're doing, and somebody who will hold me accountable.
Yeah, yeah.
And yes, I'm willing to spend a couple of bucks,
Yeah.
because it's about my health.
It's
And
about
if
your
I
health.
am full, then I can pour to my children, and I
Absolutely.
can pour back into the world.
Yeah.
So I think just even having a conversation with you and us planning on when we can start was a mental jump
Yeah. Yeah.
phase for
It
me, because I
kick-started
got a gym.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got a gym membership. I started, I'm still a little careless with the way I eat, but
But
just know
you're
just
aware of it.
knowing that like, you don't have to eat the whole bar of
Yeah,
chocolate.
come on now.
You can moderate a little
Come
bit.
on now. Eat like an
Yeah,
adult.
like, come on, you can save some for tomorrow.
Yeah. It's
Just
not going
know
anywhere. It will still
it's
be
not
there
going
tomorrow.
anywhere. It's here,
Yeah.
and it's just having a conversation with you and intending it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, but then unfortunately, after that, I had other health issues pop up, and I had to take a breather, and just I even like kind of went off social media completely for
You
quite a
disappeared for a
time.
bit, and I thought, like, what
Yeah,
happened to this lady?
yeah, I
Yeah.
needed that cleanup, but then yeah, then
It's
here
good.
we
It's
are.
good.
Yeah,
But I think at the end of the day, sometimes that's all somebody needs, just having somebody who knows what they're talking about to talk to you about stuff, because
yeah.
that in itself makes you aware of actually where you're going
No,
wrong.
you being a mom, I would trust you more than I would trust somebody who hasn't had kids, because it's both, it's not both, it's mental, it's emotional, and it's physical. And you
Absolutely.
know that being a mom, it wears on you. And people don't say it enough because there's a certain shame,
Yeah.
I think, associated with saying, I'm failing here. I'm
Yeah.
failing. I'm collapsing.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this. I
Mm.
know you think I come with an internal manual,
But
but I
don't.
can't access mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a certain shame in and especially when you live in the West, this genetically, some people just snap back faster than a bigger
Others. Yes,
woman.
it's true.
And
Yeah.
so you compare yourself and you're like, oh, but she just had a baby. Look at her. She looks great. And then social media puts pressure on you. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
But the
so
thing that people
yeah,
forget is social media, a lot of it is it's not real. And people need to realize this, because again, if you're looking at photos on the social media and comparing yourself to, say, somebody who's had a baby and they've got good lighting and they've got a good way of posing, so it's all about the angles, and you can create an illusion for a lot of things and make yourself look like something you're completely not.
yeah.
Add that on to Photoshop and the rest of it that comes with technology these days. You can do a lot to manipulate how you look on social media. So if there's a message that I want to put out there, is don't always trust things that you see on the
Don't
on.
buy the hype.
Don't do that. And also, we're all different. The way we respond, as you point out, the way we snap back from pregnancy is completely different to every woman. You will not get two women who transition
To have
back the
a
same
baby.
way.
Yeah.
And again, the way we carry our pregnancies is different. Like for me, I was very compact and I was very small. Right up until maybe the last few months, like the last 2 3 months is when you could actually tell I was pregnant, because it was like just a small ball. And then I just ballooned right at the end. So it's all different for us. And the way we snap back into it, again, genetics have got a big part to play in it all. And it's just about having that knowledge there of knowing that, you have to be at peace with certain things after baby has come. And even when your body's transitioning back, there is things that will never exactly go back to how they were. I mean, the stretch
And
marks.
surrounding yourself, like if I look at my social media, like I said, most of my high school friends are still my friends, and we are at the age where we are teetering. You're either into going into 40 or
Yeah,
early 40s. We are all there. And I think that just seeing that and seeing the differences, and I think not just on social media, but in real life as well, the people you surround yourself with should reassure you. But
yeah,
also, if you need a little bit of nudge, like
yeah,
you need
yeah.
somebody who will
You
say
need
that to
someone to
you
say,
with all
come
the
on
love,
now, Beth.
say, come on
Come on
now.
now.
Yeah, come
Time
on, you
for you to
know.
start thinking about
Yeah,
doing something about
yeah,
how you look. Come on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that actually helps. It does. It gets you out of that mindset of thinking like, feeling bad about yourself and not being able to do anything about it. Because a lot of
That's
us get stuck in that sort of mindset, and you literally
yeah,
don't know how to unstick yourself. And
yeah.
it's just very easy to sit there and think like, well,
Yeah,
I'm
and actually, you had asked this. I don't think I told you that. So I'm at the moment, I have my little dumbbells. I just ordered an aerobic step. I'm looking at it right here. So I have an aerobic step because of the cold. Girl, I can't go out.
That is
Like
something we'll
that
all
gym,
complain
I
about.
haven't been like this
It's
ashamedly
cold.
so. I haven't been for a
No,
month because it's just my body was not built for this temperature.
no, it's too
I
cold.
cannot bring myself. Like I think because I usually jog to the gym and jog back. It's
Yeah,
literally like a 7 minute jog and a 14-minute run. And I usually I don't drive to the gym. It doesn't make sense to me to
doesn't
drive
make
to,
sense.
but
Yeah.
that walk, like 14 minutes in this cold, I'm like,
No way. That is
listen,
death. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
No.
so I realized that I haven't been going, and it's because I ordered the aerobic step, and now I'm just kind of trying to do little things, here and there. I'd wake up a little earlier before the kids are up. I'll work on myself, do my prayers, do my little meditation, whatever,
Yeah.
and then get a little workout in. And
Good.
then by the time the entire household is waking up, I
You're
kind
all
of sort of
set.
feel like, yeah,
Yeah,
I
you're all
feel
set
like,
for the
and
day.
also just realizing it adds up. I showed somebody, like I was video calling someone, and they said, "Did you lose weight?" I said, "No." And they said, "Yeah, you did." I was like, "No, it's the power of that." They're like, "No, no, no. It's not. You really
Different.
have." And I did
Yeah.
realize it because it's the little things, they add up.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
even if I miss a day or a couple of days, but I get back on and still keep,
Absolutely.
and,
Yeah.
my kids, like, we'll do headstands and little things in the house and just be, and I feel like that's when you're a mom, your kids become your workout a
They
little
do.
bit.
They do. Absolutely. And as long as there's that movement there, that's all you need to do. You don't actually need to hammer yourself constantly going to the gym, although it's beneficial if you're trying to build muscle and to achieve a certain look. But
Yeah.
for the general population, really, movement is all you're looking at. Have
Mhm.
some movement in there so that you're actually doing some sort of activity in the day and not just ignoring that side completely. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is brilliant. We are going to try and wind up a bit, but before that, I might or might not be wrong, but at one point, I think you had a business that you were running back home. Uh, T-shirts. I saw quite a few
Ah,
clothing wear.
I'm a hustler.
Oh, you're a
Listen.
hustler. You're you're good at this stuff.
I hustle hard.
Yeah, well, I want you
I'm
to
like,
talk to us about that and about running a business because, again, this is a podcast to help aspiring entrepreneurs and people who want to come into business to find some tips on how to run a business. So, for you, what was it like running a business back home, and how did that go? How did you find that? Did it pick up? Was it great doing it?
I do several things on the side because I have a lot of people who, depend on me financially
Absolutely.
and
Yeah,
otherwise.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
try to keep a hustle going at every given
absolutely.
time. I try to read the environment and see what I can and cannot manage,
Yeah,
either within my environment or outside. And I have a bit, I still have it. So it's a branding business. And I do any kind of branding, but I mostly love to just focus on a t-shirt and the versatility of a t-shirt. So I do
yes,
t-shirts, I do hoodies, but I love the t-shirt because t-shirts can be the thing that you tuck into a formal skirt, throw on a
yeah,
blazer,
yeah. You
a
can wear
pair of
it with
heels, and you're
anything.
ready
Pretty
for
much.
the office. It can still be the thing that you roll up in the back and tie a knot and throw on a pair of jeans
Yes.
and still be hip and be ready to go, out with your girls. You
Wear
can
it
have
to the gym.
oversized t-shirts with a pair of boots, and that's just, a look.
Yeah.
And also a t-shirt is the one thing that just it has no age. My mom wears t-shirts, I wear t-shirt, you
Yeah.
wear
Everybody wears
t-shirt,
t-shirt.
everybody,
Yeah.
like young people, old people, men, women. So it's like a really good space to kind of tap into. It is a challenge. It is a challenge. And some days I don't make a profit.
Okay.
But I did tell myself I've invested a lot of time and effort into things that had no sense of benefit or purpose to me. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna stick with it. And
Mm.
so there are days that I've had to put in money. There are days that I've had money that, some seasons where I've made enough to kind of spread it out and make it last for a few more months when I wasn't making money. And so it's up and down. But the thing to do, I feel like because I have that and I have a shelf renting business in the CBD in
Okay.
Nairobi. So I have
Yeah.
a little shop and I have shelves and small business owners who mostly sell online but want a physical presence will, instead of renting a shop, rent a shelf. And
Ah,
so I will give
cool.
them a space to display their goods. I'll give them a location. So if they want to, like, oh, you want to try a sample, you can come to
Such and
Sasa
such.
Mall at
Yeah.
G23. You'll find my samples. And so I have an attendant. She's amazing, who helps me run that. So I have people selling all kinds of stuff. I have
Hmm.
people selling body butter. I have people selling makeup. I have people selling like just all kinds of random things, jewelry. I have people selling shoes. And they all just rent a shelf. And
Nice.
then they market their business online and they use that as their physical address. So if
Oh,
anybody needs to
fantastic.
come pick up something, try a sample,
Yeah.
look at the merchandise, they can come here and take a look. And so it goes really well with my t-shirt business
Yeah.
because then I have a place to physically say, hey, my merchandise is here. You can come try it out. And because I print on order, like I have to get I don't print like unless it's for marketing. I usually don't. I will keep like a few samples, but most of the time I'll print your stuff on order. I'll do your branding on order. And yeah, so just knowing um what the market is, what
Mm.
people need, and usually I use myself as
Yeah.
a marker, like what have I ever wanted? And I had a really hard time finding what have I ever wanted? And I didn't have anybody hold my hand and walk me through it. So I
Mm.
really personalize my business. I don't get tired telling people, oh, this color look good on you. Have you tried this print? Have you, let's try and do this. Let's incorporate some, Africanness in this because that people are really into that now. Let's try
Most,
and use
yeah.
this pattern. So the thing about business is delegating. If you're a mom and you're a career woman,
Mm.
learning to delegate, but also learning which parts to what you're gonna lose. Like sometimes I know I make a little more than I get.
Yeah.
And I know like I'm cool with that because it's a price to pay. I'm not here to monitor every single shilling.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna lose sometimes because I'm not here. And also knowing business, it takes patience.
It does. It
It
does.
takes for a business to be stable, it takes 2 to 3 years for you to start getting anything out of
Anything
it.
out of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you need to be ready. You need to be ready to the first year I entirely supported all of my business, like any business I do, I support for a year. So
Yeah.
I'm literally like putting money in and putting money in and getting nothing out, putting money in and getting nothing out. And then the second year, my rule is it has to self-sustain. It has
Yeah.
to pay its own bills. So
Yeah.
I'm not looking to make any money out of any of my businesses for the second year, but I'm not looking to put any more money in.
And yeah.
And so can it pay the girl who works here? Can it pay the overhead? It has to self-sustain. And
Mm.
then the third year is when I start thinking, okay,
It needs
I'm
to
hoping that I can make something out of this. So it takes
yeah.
patience, it takes strategy. You fail a lot, you win
Yeah.
some.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's you have to be willing to gamble with that. And then of course now I'm trying to grow my storytelling business.
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
finding there's a huge market here. So like I sell African stories.
Yeah.
I'm an
So
African
is that on
storyteller.
YouTube then? Is that on your YouTube channel?
So originally, when I started my YouTube channel, that was the goal.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, like in your podcast, like, how do you do this and how do you do that? And so many how-to questions came up. So I was like, okay, I'll do some how-to videos and how to survive here and how to navigate that. And
Yeah.
the process of doing that, I suppose I didn't know how to structure the stories, particularly like African stories. How do I tell those? And is there a
Tell
market
those.
for it?
Yeah.
And when I came here, because there's a huge interest, I realized, oh, wait a minute, people are willing to give me a couple of dollars to listen to a drumming, ululating storyteller.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm slowly trying to really dig because that's my vibe. I love to talk, I love to tell stories, I love to share, I love African jewelry and
Of
the whole
course.
regalia.
Everything African.
I
You're all
everything
African.
is
Yeah.
that is like my yes, that is and
That's
that
your
is
vibe.
that is my vibe
Yeah.
100%. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to grow that and kind of, and I see that it's picking up a little bit. So I'm happy about
Yeah.
that.
Fantastic. So I do wish you all the luck in the world for that. I know that you'll make a big thing out of it because knowing you, when you go in, you go in. Like there is no holding back with you. So definitely, I'm sure you'll make a success out of that. Now then, we have actually gone on quite a bit. As I thought we would, and we still haven't finished. We're nowhere
It's
near finishing everything that I had in mind. So just for the sake of this podcast, I usually want it to be within an hour so that we don't send people to sleep.
okay.
People don't switch off. So what I'm going to do is we are going to call this part one of this
All
episode.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
hopefully I should be able to get you back again, and then we'll cover the rest of the things that I wanted us to cover on the next episode, part 2. And then that will go out after this one goes out. But just in case people want to know more about you and what you do, and like, you know, the storytelling side of things, is there a way of getting in touch with you, like social media, your handles and that?
So if you type Beth Achavela anywhere, Beth Achavela Mudaki, it should lead you to all my handles, but my IG handle is +254 Beth, the Beth 254, I think. Gonna check that real quick. I don't know my own handle. My Facebook is Beth Achavela. My YouTube channel is called The African Storyteller. But if you just type in Beth Achavela, you'll be able to find me. My Facebook is Beth Achavela. So I feel like any publication on me, anything I've ever done, if you just type Beth Achavela in, it should lead you to that. My IG handle is the Beth 254.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, and and also my I have a WordPress page,
Right.
and it's the African Storyteller Beth Achavela again. So
Again, okay, brilliant.
yeah,
What I'll do is I'll put it on the notes
yeah,
and video so that people can be able to access it, and hopefully you should get some interest going with that as well. But it's been an absolutely fantastic time. My pleasure has been to come on with you and discuss everything that we've talked about. And I look forward again to having you back on for part 2 of this. Thank you so much for your time, Beth. I will bid you goodbye for now, but please, please, please promise me you'll come back again for part 2. I hope
promise I'll be happy to come back. You are a vibe, and I enjoyed coming here, and it's always so good to just stay in touch and to talk over things. And
yeah.
thank you for having me, and I look forward to being back.
All right then, my love. I will
All right,
leave you for
cheers.
now, but take care, and I will say goodbye to our listeners now, and we'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
And just before you go, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to my channel so you don't ever miss any upcoming episodes. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Carol West Coaching. Are you interested in coaching or joining our team as a client? We offer photo shoot, body transformations, as well as bodybuilding competition prep packages. The team at the Elevate Health and Body Transformation Program are ready and waiting to help you achieve and maintain your dream physique. Whether you're looking to step on stage or just want to do it for yourself, you can send us a DM and we'll get you on the road to achieving a lean and fit physique. Bye for now.